everybody. Special Tuesday edition on a Thursday of the Football 360 show. Coming at you, but you're lucky you were here at all because, you know, the world is a crazy place. Coming at you live, though, on X as well as YouTube. JP Rock here with you, joined by Matt Bierman, as always. How you doing, Matt?
Hello.
And, of course, our social media is right there. JP Rock MO on X, JP Rock Scout U on Instagram. And, Matt, your social media where people can reach you is?
Elite Football Academy on Instagram, and on X, it is Elite Football.
Yeah. We're a little thrown off today because it's not our normal day, normal time. So, you know, a lot of stuff going on. But we're so dedicated that we are just gonna bring it to you and just push forward. So, anyway, man, happy Tuesday, everybody. It's rainy. We'll get this weather figured out. You know, it's going to go right from being cold and rainy to being like 90 degrees just in time for everybody's camp. Although high school football camp started this week.
Yeah.
Which is fun to see.
And a bunch next week. It'll be...
It all starts next week. The high school camps are going on. And, I mean, it just seems like spring practice just finished up. Football is a year-round sport. And I know we say that all the time, and that's most definitely true, especially now, because look, I mean, and all you got to do is ask the parents of football players. They're constantly doing something. The season just ended, and then boom, here's everybody throwing out their 7-on-7 football tryouts, and then you got people hitting them up for the camps and hitting them up for the combines, and it's
Do you feel sorry for those people that didn't do anything between last season and now?
It depends on what they did or didn't do.
Yeah.
It depends on what your goal is. You should definitely be training. If you didn't do anything and you just decide to do it now, you're going to find out real fast that that's no fun.
No.
And you're the guy who's going to be standing on the sideline. There's nothing wrong with that. You could be cheering on your fellow teammates and schoolmates, but you're not going to, be a productive.
Well, I think your high school coach is going to be more forgiving with letting you kind of break back in and get going again. The problem is when you go to these college exposure camps, mega camps, when you go to those types of camps, there's they're there to recruit football players. And so there's not a lot of, peeking behind and going, oh, I think, looks like he's going to be really good. I think they're very focused on who is ready. Right. And I think,
and here's the thing. I mean, Lindenwood camp is a week away. Right.
Yeah.
And what they are, and we were just, part of the KC Varsity Combine, and Wayne Orr, who runs that, did a great job. You guys all did a great job with Elite. He said it. And if you go back and you look at the video that BJ Wilson posted, the hype video, which was really well done. He says, I don't care what you do on the high school football field. When you're here, this is a job interview because the place was loaded with college coaches. Lindenwood,
same thing. And we were just right before we got on air, and we'll give our friend Coach John Merritt a shout out that he had responded to some guy who clearly is not in the know, who said he thinks college mega camps are a cash grab. And again, I think he might misunderstand what those are. I can tell you the one that we're involved with, Lindenwood, which will be June 6th and 7th. Absolutely is not a cash grab. The value you get for $90.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you get verified testing data, right? There is this year that one of the improvements is going to be a large number of the kids are going to have catapult testing units on them, which that data is going to go out to the colleges, which they already use with their athletes in practice every week, of the year in training. There's going to be film that's of all the kids that goes to the colleges. Obviously, the testing side of all that, right? And then you get the skill side, where there's a little bit of instruction, drilling, and then you're getting evaluated by 300 to 400 college coaches.
It's going to be 400 college coaches there, 80 programs is what assistant coach Brian Baldwin told us when he was in here a couple weeks
ago.
It
means there's going to be more.
Yep.
Now, that being said, I was looking at, someone sent me, there's a big one. I think it's down in Dallas, SMU, or one of those guys, TCU. They have 50 schools that are committed to that one.
Mm-hmm.
So Lindenwood still carries a pretty big stick. I think it'll be closer to, probably 100 different schools, 400 college coaches, whatever that historical numbers are. But I think it's a good value for anybody. It's such a good value that I know for a fact that my son will be doing both days because, in my opinion, and he's only going to be a freshman. One, he gains really good valuable reps. You're not going there. You're not super tired from doing it. You're not going to throw 8 million balls as a quarterback. You're going to throw probably 100 balls, plus warm up.
Yeah.
And then you'll probably get in your one-on-one. I'd be willing to bet you. They limit the quarterbacks to, I think it's 20 kids per session.
Right.
So when they break up and do one-on-ones, that's 5 aside, right? I mean, that's 5 guys rotating reps. I mean, you don't get that many places. That's hard to do, right? And so I really do think the value is. And so when you hear people that, and what is so sad is someone's going to read that, and then you get the clowns that jump in and go, "Oh, of course, that's a cash grab. They're making so much money." And it's like, you understand what an event costs to run and bring 2,000 kids in over 2 days? I mean, just if you're charging someone $90, 14-15 bucks is off the top for shirts.
Yeah.
Gone, right? And then you start, taking into the account coaches, equipment, all the things you need to run something like that is easily gone, right? It's easily gone. Like it's I mean, it erodes it, but again,
it's so silly.
But I do think it's cool. That guy, whoever he was a high school coach. It's okay that he gets paid for what he does, but some people might consider what he does is probably a joke, right? Because he doesn't probably live up to what he thinks he's doing.
He's a high school coach in the most heavily recruited area in the country.
Yeah.
Okay. So he might feel that way, right? Or maybe his son went and didn't get recruited, and so he's going to lash out like that. Yeah. And that happens a lot when people say that. Yep. Trust me, there are other ways that they make money. They don't need that. That is done,
And by the way, what he's ignoring is there is one school that's collecting the money, right? So like theoretically, Lindenwood's doing that, but they're facilitating 80 other schools. Those other schools aren't making money. They're right. spending money to come to that, right? And matter of fact, let's just call it the way it is. Some of those schools are spending valuable dollars that they don't even really have in their recruiting budgets, but it's so beneficial for them to get to one place where they can see that many kids that it makes sense, because a lot of those schools back in the spring didn't have the budgets to send a coach to St. Louis or to wherever these kids are from. And now they have an opportunity to go to one central meeting spot and get to see the kids live and get to recruit them. And so it's just so ignorant of how this stuff actually works, and just ignoring the facts and not understanding like what it is and what the intention is. If they were going there and collecting money and kids weren't getting quality reps and kids weren't getting testing by professionals on professional grade equipment, I get it. But that's not what's happening. That's not happening at SMU when they have theirs, and TCU does theirs, and Mercer does theirs. Again, I think it's just a lot of misinformation with people, and I hate when people put that out because it's such a popular opinion. Like if I had $1 for every time somebody, when I first started doing skills training, was like, why would you even need to do that? You go to practice. Well, go to practice and look at how many reps your kid gets, and then come watch a skills training session at our facility and see how many reps they get. And then watch a private training session and see how many reps they get. Right. And I just think people, it's easy to sit back and shoot off wild accusations that are going to get clicks for you, but it's doing damage to people that actually need to hear the message about things they should be doing to put themselves in a better position.
Well, and it comes from people that don't know what they're talking about, number one, and it comes from people who might, have an axe to grind. I mean, there's a whole list of things. Clearly, it's wrong on every level. And if anybody's pays attention to some place like Lindenwood Camp or even KC Varsity, oh my gosh, the number of offers that came out from just the KC Varsity, on the 17th, right? We had it on the 17th. It's crazy. Right. And like I said, the show we did following that, man, the coaches were really paying attention, really, feverishly writing down information, trying to talk to guys. Boom, there go the offers. It is that on steroids at Lindenwood. So many offers go out. Now, are you going to go there and do well and get offered by Iowa or Mizzou? Maybe not. But is that what your goal is? Then you might be disappointed. But like you said, it really is a one-stop shopping for all these other schools that are there. Right. Because if you're in Iowa or a Mizzou, let's be honest, you get to be more selective. You're dipping deeply into the transfer portal for your base, for your main guys that you want that are going to play this year. Right? These other schools don't have that luxury.
Yeah,
and so this is where they're going to get the vast majority of their players.
A part of that process is we've seen it happen a million times. You leave those situations if you're like a junior, a rising sophomore, or to junior to senior, if you're a guy, and you can leave that situation and have a MAC school who are really good at evaluating talent, probably is the best in the country as a conference, in my opinion.
Out of necessity.
But yeah, because they have to. And so if kids are starting to leave with those offers, and maybe they're not committable at that point because it's so early in the process. But if you get a Kent State offer, you get a Miami of Ohio State offer, you get an Ohio offer, those are serious offers.
Mm-hmm.
Division I FBS football. We've had Northern Illinois. We've had so many. Now they're not in the MAC any longer, but so many kids, and they all those schools I just named every year are well represented at Mega Camp.
And
every year
they love to offer kids,
and they will because they are not scared to pull the trigger. And so it's usually a good sign if you're getting offers from those guys because that means you turn someone's eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll use a kid as an example. So just to give you an idea of like, as you listeners, like of kind of something to expect if you're a guy that's going to be a guy, right? So we've talked about him. We had him on a show one time. Brett Ottensmeyer, he comes to mind. It's a good case study. So he's a quarterback, Parkway West, big, tall kid. I remember he was a freshman going to be a rising sophomore, and he's throwing. University of Arkansas is there, and one of the guys says to me, "Hey, do you know who that kid is?" And I was like, Then he points and says, "Oh yeah, that's Brett Ottensmeyer. He's going to be a sophomore. He's a freshman right now. Going to be a sophomore, Parkway West." He's like, "You train him?" I'm like, "Yep." He's like, because there was two other kids he had asked me about, and I go, "Yeah, we trained him." Told him who it was, and he was the youngest of the bunch. And he says, "I really like him." Right. So then they tell him, "We would like to see you come to one of our camps." Right. So he goes down there as a camp, and they follow him around and the whole 9 yards. Right. And so on the way, either down there or on the way back, they stopped and did a camp at Missouri State, and it did not go his way at that time. Yeah, but he's young, right? You're learning.
Yeah.
Shows up last year at Lindenwood, right? And then, so then he has a senior that's a starter, so he's playing a little bit, but not getting as many reps as he wants as a sophomore. Then he, same time the next year, he's out there throwing again. He's more confident. He's been there. He's not scared of the environment. Now all of a sudden, Miami of Ohio, Kent State, they come offer, right out of the gate.
He picked up those offers that day.
Yep, right then and there on the field.
Yep.
So then you fast forward, and now he's a rising senior. So now it's starting to get a little bit more serious. He's got Sacramento State, he's got the Miami, the Kent State, and then all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, Missouri State. Right. Mm-hmm. So what a tale of time, right? Sometimes timing is just not right. So he's got a Missouri State offer. I think is really intriguing to him. Right. I think it would be a great place to go as they make the move to FBS. So again, you don't know, but you got to get yourself in the fight, and you got to be in there, and you got to be prepared when you get there, so that you never know who's watching. Right. And they're filming you, and there's things that are going on, and there's conversations being had. And truthfully, there's a lot of guys that show up at a camp that may not get noticed because they have not done a whole lot, or they're not ready. They're just not physically ready. They're not emotionally ready. They're not skill ready. They're just it's not their day. So I think that there's a lot of things that go into it that unfortunately parents aren't considering. Or they're playing the game of, well, why did that guy get offer? We didn't. We picked him off last year. Oh, you did? Yeah. Well, he's just still going to play college football. And the kid he threw the interception got lucky and will probably never play it down after high school. It doesn't matter. Coaches don't look that deep into it. They're looking at how do you project, do you fit what they need, and then do you have the pedigree that's going to fit their mold. Right.
Yep. That's exactly right.
So, but yeah, as far as the Lindenwood camp, mega camp, registration is starting to fill. It closes tomorrow. So today is Thursday, May 29th. It will close tomorrow, Friday, May 30th. Please do not call me. Please do not call JP. They do allow walk-ups. Yeah. Okay, so that does happen. But you're better off. And the other thing,
the reason you're better off is because you have to wait at the back of the line. Yes. Right. And if they have room for you, then you can go. If not, then it's just, you should have signed up when you could.
Yes. So sign up now. There's still space. The other question we get all the time is, so there's a session 1 and session 2 on or session 1 and session 3 on Friday. Yeah. And then 4 and 5 on Saturday. Either one, any of them, right? Reason why? I mean, there's one, and I don't know, like it's kind of was a lighter group of quarterbacks. I'm thinking to myself, shoot, I'd want to be in that group because there's less quarterbacks and you're getting more eyes on you, right? I mean, but even at 20, it's a good one. There's a few that are smaller, but those are going to be the ones that fill now because people have waited, but the time is now. The time is now. Do not wait. Get registered. And just the easiest way is Google Lindenwood Mega Camp. That's it. Lindenwood Mega Camp.
And it'll pop right
It'll pull up. It'll say Jed Stugart, Lindenwood, Mega Camp, and then register from there. And you know what? I promise you, it's a learning experience no matter what happens, but it's a great opportunity to meet. I mean, I'm talking to kids who got business cards they're going to be handing out to coaches. You got guys worried about like what they're going to wear. You got guys like training on their 40 and training on their broad jump, all that stuff, and getting ready.
Hopefully you've been training.
So one thing is, I will tell you for the linemen, one of the unique things we're going to do this year is they're doing a 10-yard. They are not doing the 40. They're doing 10 yards. That's it. And I think that's going to be a pretty good measure for them. All the skill guys, of course, will be doing their traditional 40 yard.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's.
But I think really the 10 is a really good measuring stick of where these guys need to be.
Yeah.
And
how many times does your lineman have to run 40 yards?
Well, just so you know, like the when they do the catapult technology on these guys, like they're going to get all the data they need that's beyond the 40, right?
Yep.
How much force you produce, all that crap. I mean, there's so much stuff that goes into it.
That's really important.
Yeah, that's it. But again, you're always being measured. You go to college, you're going to be measured. You're going to be watched. I just left the facility, and Coach Bryce, one of our coaches, was talking to a kid. Coach Bryce is back from. He was playing an arena and got hurt, so he's back just rehabbing and trying to get his body back in shape. And he was talking to one of the college kids, getting ready to go to college, and the kid was trying to stand in front of a fan and whatever. And he's like, look, you're getting ready to go to college football camp. Like, the comfort is not going to be your friend. Like, It is what it is. You got to get in where you fit in and stay there and survive. Like, It's not about, momentarily, having comfort in the process. Like, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for those kids that signed back in December and February that have not done anything, that think they arrived and they think they're good and they wanted to enjoy their senior year. You're about to get a rude awakening.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a rude awakening. If you think just because they recruited you and gave you a scholarship that you're going to be okay, doesn't work that way. You got to get there and you got to pull your weight. And if not, they're going to find someone else to do it.
Yeah, you're not going to be told how much you're loved if you don't produce, or if you're over there, like, you need a fan. You're like, wait a minute,
right?
Can I stop and go find a fan that's out there? Because that's not the case.
Nope, 100%. But I if you're going to register. Do not wait.
Yeah,
Lindenwood Mega Camp in Google, it'll pull it right up, and you click. If you click on it and it says session 1, you scroll down, it has your position group, says sold out, go to session 3.
Yeah.
If that's sold out, go to session 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'm noticing a lot of guys last minute announcing that they're coming to the camp. So I'm assuming that, like with everything else, as you well know, with elite and then with KC varsity, guys love to wait till the week of or the day of
Yes.
to sign. You know, you get those, like 1 a.m. messages or DMs or like the 8 o'clock in the morning. Can I still
Oh,
come?
yeah.
Can I still sign up?
Oh, we got kids that walk up to ours, right? Which usually it's fine. Like we'll accommodate
As
you
long as you
if
got a
it's-
shirt.
But if we don't have
Yeah.
shirts and we don't have like the numbers don't work, like we
Right.
just can't do it.
Right. And that's how that goes. And the most important thing, if you're going to come to Lindenwood camp, and the biggest determining factor of what's going to happen, not some coach from Georgia who's a high school coach from Georgia is going to tell you that it's a waste or it's a money grab, but it's how you're going to perform.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to come to a mega camp, and I don't care where it is, whether it's in Dallas, whether it's in St. Charles, Missouri, you better have been ready. You better be ready. And not just, hey, I'm going to go to this, nondescript little camp that they invited me to for free and whatever. You better be prepared because it is a job interview. Wayne Orr is absolutely right at KC Varsity when he said it, and he said it at all three of them that there were. It is a job interview. Lindenwood University is your first foray into being an adult, right? Or to be looking for a job. Whether I've went and I've applied at McDonald's or whatever it is a job interview to find the college that's going to really catapult you, to your future.
Well,
and so you
it's
better
also
be prepared. You wouldn't show up for your McDonald's interview unprepared, right? Or maybe a lot of guys do, and then they don't get the job, and then they can be like, "Oh, McDonald's they're just they're just not. They don't understand me. It ain't about. It's not like that as in the real world.
It is just like the real world, and
Yeah.
and the sad thing is, a lot of people don't realize like how serious this has gotten. Right? 4 years ago, you were vying for a scholarship.
Yeah.
Right. Now you are vying for if you are indeed one of the higher level guys, you're vying for scholarship plus revenue share money plus NIL money.
You're in rare air
Yeah,
now.
and so it is a job.
Yep.
Make no mistake. If you are a guy that is a legitimate like prospect who can drive value for any team in college football, you're going to make anywhere from 150 to 600 to $1 million a year, right? And so, I was talking to one of our guys the other day. We were talking about a kid. I don't want to give his business, but he's all this stuff's going to come out eventually because it's going to be through the schools. But he's $2 million. A local kid. He's going into year 2, $2 million.
Yeah. Well,
think about that.
The market value.
I mean, and what it's done for his family, the ability for them to, just like change their lives, change his life, right? Like and you just hope that they're wise with it because it'll set you up for the rest of your life.
So if that's not incentive, right? I mean, it used to be enough of an incentive. Oh, I want to go play big time college ball, right? If that's not an incentive for you to get on a path and stick to it and work and build towards that. I mean, your average person who's going to go to college is not going to be making $2 million a year while they're in college. They're not going to be making $2 million a year once they're out of college.
They won't make $2 million maybe over their career.
Correct. So you better take it serious.
But JP,
beyond serious.
Don't you know? I got offers. They offered me JP.
Meaningless.
Yeah. Okay. You might get year 1.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna get year 2, 3, 4. Right. And
Correct.
so that's the other thing is like it's the more that's getting paid, the more is expected of you.
Yeah.
This is not just something where, oh, they're just doing it out of the kindness of your heart and you were a big deal at your local school here, right? Like we were talking about this before the show. Right now, there's 5 kids. There's 1 kid committed to the University of Missouri from the state of Missouri at this point in class 2026.
It's probably going to be about 3 to 5.
3 to 5, right?
Yeah.
So you ended up having that scenario, and then you have the ability for you to be a top, 10 guy in your state, which makes you probably a top 200 in the country, right? Those guys should be on the revenue share side of things, and most of those guys would be, power 4 guys getting the full revenue share. But again, we talked about this weeks ago, if not, maybe 2 months ago. like, what's the money going to look like? The money's going to look like different if you're a quarterback, different if you're an offensive lineman.
Right.
If you're a receiver, that kind of dime a dozen,
Yeah.
you know. DNs can pay a little bit more, right?
Yep.
So it's just like the NFL. There's a hierarchy of what has to get paid. And that's just how it is, right? And so don't fool yourself. Don't go into this and think I'm just a really God's gift. I'm a great athlete. You can fake it. Believe me. We know money. We've seen our fair share of guys slide through the process.
Yeah.
And think they're too cool for school. And then they get there and they realize, oh man, my hips are a little tight. Oh man, I didn't listen to what people were telling me. I got caught up in the process. The number one error of guys that go to college that do not survive is they got caught up in their own press clippings and they thought they were different than everybody else. And they're doing what I would consider very ancillary work, very, very ancillary work that does not translate to the field. At the end of the day, you're going to get paid in college at Power 4 to play football and produce. So how do you do that? One, you stay injury free, right? Two, you have a brain that's wrapped around the game of football and understanding what the game actually is and what it isn't. And you have the physical skills, right? Athletic skills, and then you have the skills of the position. And then the last one is you have concentration and discipline to stay away from the crap that's going to get you in trouble and distract you from any of those other areas that we were talking about. And I think you and I have seen it so many times when guys get those big time offers and then you see them retreat and then they start to become the person that you're like, ooh, I didn't know he was like that. I thought he was a worker, right? I thought this guy was someone. And so it's hard to put your name on people like that, right? And then you just kind of retreat because you don't want to be around it because you know what's going to happen. And I would argue that, if you have money now in the equation, it only exacerbates that behavior, right? So if the guy was cheating the system to begin with and kind of got lucky and doesn't even know why he's really there, right? He's just there. Yeah. By the grace of God and genetics, those, and then say that he doesn't have a real love of the game, he's out of it. It's done. It's over, right? And he just doesn't know it yet. Now, hopefully he saves the money that he made the first year or two. It's not going to pay off over 4.
So like that happens a lot.
Happens more than you care to do. But
parents, I'm talking about the saving.
Oh yeah,
that doesn't happen a lot.
No,
everybody wants to, and this is you see it with the high school guys. Guys love the clout. They love the notoriety. They want to, that's why they're always looking for something that they can post. And some of it's just nonsense, I mean,
let me tell you, I've had the pleasure of meeting and knowing a few individuals that have a lot of money, like money that you and I both would be like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. And they're the ones you don't know that they have the money.
That's true.
Right. It's just like the guy that scores, Walter Payton. You act like you've been there before. Right.
Yeah.
So if you're flashing around like you're a $30,000 millionaire, right? Like you're acting like every penny you make is going towards designer goods or something to be flashy or flex online. It's easy come, easy go, right? And so that's the unfortunate trap of social media. That's the unfortunate trap of the world, and it's a story as old as time. It's been going on forever. So I think if you don't have discipline, you're going to be caught in a really bad position. And if you don't have a parental, a network or good people around you to help you manage that and that newfound wealth or that newfound clout, I look back, I always laughed. I'll tell you a story. I think it helped him stay in the NFL. Blaine Gabbert was in between teams when he was with the 49ers. So his contract ran out. Him and Kaepernick, they didn't sign either one of them. And he's sitting in my office one day, and we're shooting the breeze. We're talking about different things. And in the NFL, it's a people business, just like college football is a people business, just like selling cars is a people business. And he says, yeah, most of the coaches that I've been associated with are no longer in the league. Like they've either retired, they're not coaching. And I said, well, okay. And I think I've told the story, but like a mutual friend, a guy that was working for us was really good friends with Bruce Arians. And I made the comment to him, I said, hey, Bruce Arians needs to get on this guy. This dude's been in the NFL for like, at this point, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever. And I said, I think it was 7 years. I said, he comes home in the off season. He lives in his childhood room on a bed that he's outgrown.
Yeah.
Drives his parents' car. Okay. Does his thing, comes in, works out, runs. You don't hear about him doing anything crazy off the field. And he's in here to work. I said, that's the kind of guy you can build a program about. So this Gene takes all these notes down. You know, he types up a letter. He's a different age, right? So he goes in and types up a letter and gets it to Bruce, his who's good buddies, and that started a chain reaction to where they ended up bringing him in as a free agent, and he ended up playing that year for the Cardinals. And then Bruce retired, and then Blaine went to the Titans for 2 years, and then Bruce unretired, and then brought him to Tampa Bay, and then Blaine was going to become the starter, got hurt, and then was in line to be the guy, and then Tom Brady showed up. They won a Super Bowl together. Pretty good deal, right? And then he got to go from there to the Chiefs. But my point is, you never know who your connections are going to be, but you also living outside of the norm of the wildness that you think it is, and doing the right things can also benefit you way more than you ever can dream, right? And because he was a down to earth guy and who he was comfortable in his own skin, and he wasn't trying to impress. I mean, do you know how many guys 6, 7 years in the NFL are going to come back and stay at their parents' house and work out? Like he could have been putting himself up at the Ritz or whatever. At that point, he made millions of dollars, right? But he wasn't doing that.
Right.
He was there, and he was genuinely concerned about staying in the league and advancing his career. And you know, it happened, and it didn't happen by accident, right? And there's so many guys that are going to piss it away as a freshman.
All right.
At 18.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, if you're a good person, money will make you a better person. I think if you're a not so good person, I think it'll make you a worse person.
I mean, just keeping everything in perspective. That's another thing that's hard for the young guys to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that's something that everybody needs to do heading into it. Is, you know, I mean, it's cool to post camp invites and whatnot, but at the end of the day, that's not going to get you a whole lot.
No, it's a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that strategy is the best strategy.
Because then, unfortunately, pretty much everybody gets those invites.
Right.
You know, they have lists just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And they're trying to cast a wide net.
Right. And they already have lists of people they're looking at. Yes. Going on and filling out everybody's recruiting questionnaire, I think, is a good thing, just to get your name in their systems.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really good idea. Really, It's a really good idea. It's tedious work, but you got to do it, and it gets you on list, because that's how they evaluate you, right? Just so you know, what happens when you go into these things. There's like three companies that do it. There's one like called Arms, so that one called Front Rush. And there's another one, Teamwork, or some of the other. There's 3 of them. And so when you go in and put your information in there, it's all part of a compliance software that they use to track kids throughout the recruiting process.
Mm-hmm.
And there's issues with compliance, transcripts, offers, visits, contact with you, all those things, right? And so a lot of that stuff gets logged in that system. But if you put your stuff, your information in there, in Front Rush or Field Level, it will then feed into that, and then a GA or an analyst will look at the stuff, and recruiting people will look at you and evaluate you, right? And again, I don't think you can start too early. I don't know that's a great strategy if you don't have film yet to be putting your stuff in there too much, just because you're not really ready. But if you have some stuff you can add in there and show them that you're a capable athlete on the rise, probably not a bad idea.
Right. No, not at all. Everybody should do that. It's just what you do after that and the things leading up to that, especially if you're going to go to a camp.
Yeah.
You know, now there was something that we were talking about before the show that you wanted to bring up about NCAA.
Yeah. I just pulled it up here. So I think we've talked about this once or twice, JP, as it concerns they're becoming like a super conference or a super league that's outside of the NCAA that is just basically the Power Four. So that there were some ripples across that whole space this week. So Greg Sankey, who's the SEC chairman, he says that the article says, I have people in the room asking, why are we still in the NCAA? Well, you and I ask that same question all the time.
Yeah.
Why do these big, powerful institutions allow themselves to be pulled around by their tail by a group? And let's just use this camp scenario as a great example. June 1st is Sunday. May 31st is Saturday. Can't have camps on May 31st for the big schools, FBS. Can't do the mega camps, any of that stuff. Got to wait till Sunday, June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have allowed camps on the 29th, the 30th, 31st, and June 1st, that weekend leading in, that would have given every high school and every high school kid in America basically an extra week of the ability to be seen in camp and help everybody out.
Yeah.
Instead, they have their calendar that they live and die by, and it's these self-imposed rules that do not make sense, or these tyrannical rules, if you will, that these big schools allow themselves to be, imposed on them. And unfortunately, it's starting to come home to the chickens are come home to roost. And so two things have happened. The SEC's presidents of the schools voted to give Sankey the right back in March to leave the NCAA if he sees fit. That's one. Come on. You don't vote for that if you don't have a plan in place. Give me a break. The SEC has asked for more autonomy for the four conferences. Well, the four conferences being SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC. That's it. That's who they're talking about, right? So, and then people are asking, why are we still in the NCAA? Well, the problem is there's all these new rules that are going to come out starting July 1, they think, if this House versus NCAA settlement goes through. But JP, why are they going to allow themselves to be pulled around, right? And one of those steps is they have 65% of the voting power now for all NCAA football related matters. Now, I do think it's not going to matter in the end. They're going to leave and do their own thing.
Yeah.
And then the FCS and FBS group of five, anybody left over is just going to become NCAA college football, right? And then they're going to be more traditional, right? And then I didn't thought about this. Just think this through. So those guys leave, right? They leave the NCAA and they create their own subsidiaries of their universities and play in the league. All of a sudden, House versus NCAA becomes a real problem for all those other schools that are remaining in the group, because I don't know if that will then transfer down to them, because a lot of the group of fives are not going to be able to do the money that everybody's doing, because they're kind of outside of that class.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up being, because it may just shift back to just straight NIL and playing football, and the universities are just barely getting by playing football because they're going to have to get a new TV deal, right? Where's all the funds going to go that they used to use when an NCAA FCS school or Jackson State played Colorado, or Ohio played Ohio State, or Northern Illinois
played Mizzou,
right? Like where Southeast Missouri, where's that payday go for them, right? It's gone, right? Because you're not going to let those big dogs play them. It doesn't benefit them, because they're doing this for a media play, right? They're doing it for advertising dollars. They're doing it for eyeballs and a brand, and that they can build more money and grow it, and everybody gets better off, in the process. So, but there's gonna be a lot of people who get hurt in the process too. And so, then one of the rules with an NCAA athlete, how do they get to go to the Super League, right? How do you make it up? It's not an NCAA sponsored deal. So, are they just a farm club for that? And then their farm club for the NFL? or do they just allow guys to stay there 5 or 6 years because the brand of football is so good? I mean, it'll hurt the UFL, definitely.
Oh,
It'll hurt the
without
NFL
question.
to a degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the whole process is really strange. But when you see that Greg Sankey's, they're talking about this and they're pretty serious about the split, right?
Yeah.
Why would they allow the member institutions of the SEC, and I think the Big Ten probably did the same thing, allow the autonomy of Greg Sankey? If he decides to leave the NCAA, then they'll go along.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, JP.
Yeah.
Like, read the tea leaves. They're getting ready to do something. It's not going to be next year, but the guys that are freshmen in high school this year rising, by the time they're through high school, this will be settled.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to move fast.
Stuff's gonna.
I think they're going to move fast on it. I think unless the NCAA absolutely has a change of heart and just gives them everything they want, and then basically becomes a real toothless tiger like they always have been.
Yeah. I mean, the smart move would probably be for the NFL to pony up big money and make that super league, it's minor league, and then be able to bypass a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't,
Well, and let's be honest.
You're talking about them parting with money, and they don't like to do that.
Let's be honest. The Big 12 and the ACC, they're just praying that they allow them in.
Oh, without question.
Right? And there's schools that are going to get left out. There's people that are going to get their feelings hurt.
A lot of people.
A lot of people.
And then people, it's.
So how about that? When Mizzou made the move to the SEC, looking back on it, was it a smart move?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. They're in the club.
Yeah.
Kansas on the other side, they're still back in the Big 12, which is on shaky ground.
Right. And you had people, media types at the time were mad that Mizzou didn't join the Big Ten.
Yeah,
because that was the future, which made no sense at the time, and in retrospect, it just makes people look foolish.
Well, let me ask you this: when you saw that, if I'm the Big 12, I'm trying to stay in the good graces of the Big 10 and SEC.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, because the two big dogs left last year, Oklahoma and Texas are both gone. So who do they have? I mean, Oklahoma State obviously has got some brand power. Maybe a little bit of Colorado. What do they have? Iowa State, solid programs. I just don't know how it ends up. People not getting their feelings hurt and people getting screwed, right? And you're already starting to see the colleges are starting to figure out this post revenue share generation of making budget cuts, right? And you're seeing sports starting to get cut. You're seeing things starting to kind of get realigned, and it's unfortunate because it's gonna. This is the beginning phase of it. This is not going to end well for a lot of institutions, unfortunately, that have not been managing their money well. And if there's any wrinkle in the funds coming in, and something we were talking about before the show, there is a major issue facing many of the colleges in the country, and that is there's less kids going to college.
Yeah.
There's less kids in the hopper to go to college, which then what does that create? It screws families. They got to pay more money for their kid to go to college if they want to go. But there's also a value play there, right? Like how much am I going to earn versus how much you make me pay for this? And then on the flip side, if schools don't have the kids coming in and they've crossed that threshold people can't afford, which happened a long time ago, how do they fund what they're doing, right? And the slush fund of football just lost 20% because of the revenue share.
Yeah,
it is a very dangerous time. I would not want to be an AD or a school president.
No,
especially at a school that's not in the SEC or SEC and Big Ten.
That's for sure. So Littlewood camp is a week out. Are you guys done with your training for combine stuff?
So we have combine training tonight at 7:30, Saturday at 12:30, and then next Thursday at 7:30. So we got 3 days. Basically, it's like a little over $20 a class. Come in. You can come in tonight, 7:30.
There you go. You
can go in Saturday at 12:30, or you can do all three. I would suggest getting it in,
especially if you haven't done anything.
You might want to take the test before you go through the test.
Correct. Exactly.
And do it in front of coaches.
Right. So a little bit of an abbreviated show. You got to get out of here. We started a little late. You got to get out of here. Some news coming up regarding the show, probably next Tuesday.
Some big news.
It's news. It's big.
Yeah,
It's big news. It's big. It's big news. I want to temper that because I don't know how happy a lot of people will be, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
So the dedicated people. So some Football 360 show news coming up that we're going to announce on Tuesday. In the meantime, you want to find out more information about Football 360 Show, football360show.com. There's our social media, JP Rock MO, JP Rock Scouts U on Instagram. Matt, they can find you at
elitefootball.net for web, and then Elite Football on X and Elite Football Academy on Instagram.
Yep, and you can hear us on Apple as well as Spotify, and you're probably going to be able to find us at more venues. Just a little, that's called a teaser in the business.
There we go.
Coming up soon. So stay tuned, and we will talk to you next week. Everybody have a good rest of your week, rest of your day, and your weekend as well. Talk to you then. See ya.